Good evening, Exiles. This is part 2 of my food storage class. I recommend watching part 1 before you watch this, but this is a class I taught to my little preparedness group. And basically, what it is how me and Sarah eat what we store and store what we eat. And we use food prep and food storage together as one thing. So unlike most food prep that you see on the internet, where they cook a whole bunch of chicken, whole bunch of pork, a whole bunch of hamburger, or whatever it is, and then put it in the refrigerator, and then they use it up throughout the week to make different meals. What we use is food preservation techniques. Like today for lunch, she cooked chicken with red sauce and over noodles. We already had the noodles stored. We already had the red sauce, which is spaghetti sauce basically, already canned up, ready to go. So she cut up the chicken, fried it real quick, cooked the noodles, dumped the red sauce on the chicken when it was done, heated everything up, drained the noodles, dumped the chicken and red sauce on it. Lunch was done. To save even more time, we could have actually used a jar of chicken that we already have that was cooked, poured the two together, heated it up while the noodles were cooking, and in like less than 5 minutes, had a great lunch. It's faster than going to McDonald's and a lot better for you, and it stores longer and lets us store food. So, and have food in case we lose our job. There's a snowed in. There's another reset or Great Depression or any of those things. Most likely it'll be something like snowed in or lose your job. Minor disasters that your neighbor doesn't even really know what's going on, or the guy down the street doesn't know what's going on. So I hope you find this useful. Like I said, watch part 1. If you haven't, I'll put a link in the description for part 1. And I hope you get something out of this. Basically, when you're cooking, so when people do meal prep and you watch YouTube videos or read an article on a blog on meal prep, they cook, here's all my chicken, here's all my beef and here's all my pork for the week, and here's all my different sauces I can mix and match, and they make it all on Sunday, put it in the refrigerator, and they have to make sure they use it before it all goes bad. So we just do our meal prep in jars that can set for 2 years before we really have to worry about it. Pickled stuff doesn't last 2 years, but and the refrigerator will last 6 months, a year better. And that lets us do all the meal prep, same kind of meal prep stuff, but not have to get it all eaten by this week.
Yeah.
And if there happens to be some sort of emergency, power's out for a week because of tornado or something like that, the jars keep. Or like when April was in the hospital, I'd come home and grabbed like 3 milk crates full of canned stuff. And instead of eating hospital food, I was eating homemade Tuscan chicken soup. I was also using an electric grill in the parking garage and using one of these in the parking garage. Oh, you should have seen them. Like, where'd you get beef stew? You make beef and noodles in the parking garage? I was going through looking for trash, and I was slowly putting together all the parts I needed to build a solar oven so I could cook in the solar oven on top of the parking garage. So we're going to take...
We were at the hospital for
it was 7 weeks.
I know, honey, I know.
So this is store-bought minced garlic. It's in liquid. But it has, what was it, citric acid?
Yeah.
Yeah, citric acid is a preservative in it. So we're going to grab a bowl or a pot or something. What are these? Grab a pot.
I have a question.
What?
The homemade garlic, how long will it last in the...
Until it goes bad.
Well, how do you know when it's gone bad?
Stick your finger in it and taste a little bit of it. Look at it.
Smell it.
It'll smell.
It'll smell weird.
It'll smell
and
weird. It won't smell like yogurty, pickly anymore.
If you mince your garlic and lacto ferment it with the salt solution, sometimes it will turn green or blue, and it's just fine to eat.
It's a chemical reaction with something in the garlic chemical reacting with the salt. So for this stuff, we're gonna pour through the.
What is in my refrigerator? Is it?
It's probably still good.
Okay, so what are you attempting to do and why?
We're pouring off the liquid that came with it that has the.
You need to.
He's gonna
Yeah.
rinse the citric acid out of it.
Yep, I'm trying to get rid of the citric acid.
Here, just.
Here, I guess.
Oh, we've got plastic spoons over there.
This will
He's
work.
just using his hands.
And you want to get rid of that for what reason?
The citric acid stops bacteria from growing, which is why they put the citric acid in it in the store. But we want to get rid of that citric acid so we can ferment it. Because the lactobacillus bacteria.
It's kind of an experiment.
Yep, we've never
See
done
if
this
we can
before.
do it.
But the lactobacillus bacteria is really good for you. It's a probiotic, and it's why they make those yogurt commercials, like
The Activia.
the Activia helps.
Bifidus regularis or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yes, which isn't a real bacteria. It's just a fake name they made up for their patented bacteria. It's just lactobacillus.
Do you know that if it's like the
Probiotic.
thank you. If it's just a pill that you get off the shelf and take, it doesn't do hardly anything for you.
Your stomach
It has-
acid kills most of the probiotics.
It has to be live.
Yes.
Yes, that's what we're doing. Is we're
Bacteria,
growing
yes.
live bacteria right here. Yep.
Yeah, but the pills that you get over the counter don't do hardly
I take a
anything.
probiotic that's mushroom based.
Some of those probiotic pills do, but those will be refrigerated.
Yeah, that's
And
what
more
I'm saying. The
expensive.
kind that you just pull off the shelf
Yeah.
aren't going to be.
So I want to get out as much of the liquid out of here as I can.
Probably rinse that out with water and shake it and pour it in a strainer too.
Yeah.
That way you get it all.
Yep. I'm gonna grab that. Now mix. Oh, you want to give me? Here, I'll grab a cup of water. And where'd our salt go?
Is it in the cooler?
Is it in the cooler?
I think it's in the cooler.
It says, yeah, although I am from China, there are people in us who believe in the existence of Jesus. That was her reply.
Someone in China?
Yeah.
Back to the canning and it. When I said the canned stuff, you can still eat. It's still safe to eat. It will taste weird, but the nutrient. It doesn't lose any of the nutrients, but you have to use like the water that's in it because some of the nutrients will leach out into the water. And some of the nutrients, like some of the proteins and some of the other stuff will break down into the amino acids. But then when you eat it, your body will reassemble the amino acids
Wow.
back into the proteins you need.
You know that
Are you
still
putting it-
has a lot of liquid in the bottom of that. Not that.
Oh, and the bottom of here?
Yes.
That's fine. I'll scoop out what's on top and then we can run it back through the strainer.
Why don't we just put it in the pan and rinse it with water and then dump it through the strainer?
Okay, that'll work. Or just dump that out.
I did.
Okay.
We can turn.
That's what editing's for.
Is Jody ever coming? Graduate? Okay, this guy called back a long hour for a while.
Tim and Heather.
We were at their house last time.
I think this will get most of
I was gonna say if you want to rinse it again, that seems to be a pretty thorough method.
I think we got most of the citric acid off of it.
Okay. Like I said, it's an experiment. The most we're gonna be out is $5.
You never know till you try.
Yep. And hey, if that works, I will do that all day long. Rinse that minced garlic all day long instead of mincing all that garlic.
Normally we sit there with the garlic crusher and me, Sarah, and Thomas spend like an hour mincing garlic. If this works, it'll be so much nicer.
You've done lost your spoon.
It fell right down inside there.
You're in a mess.
That's why we're in the kitchen and not the library. And Colonel Mustard and the lead pipe. Oh, and when you can, and you need headspace, I usually just use 1 inch of headspace for everything. And
Which explain
headspace is the empty space on the top of the jar for air so things can expand so it doesn't boil out of the jar. And this is about 1 inch. So I just use the funnel. I have somewhere one of those fancy headspace gauges. I've never used it. It's like a waste of time doing an extra tool. We got minced garlic everywhere. Alright, so we use half a tablespoon?
Half a teaspoon.
Teaspoon. I can never
or
remember.
cup.
Yep. I can never remember the difference between teaspoon and tablespoon's initials.
A teaspoon is smaller than a table.
I know that.
A teaspoon
But-
has the small T. The tablespoon
I know-
has the big T.
I know that intellectually, but when I go to use them, I don't. So you use half a teaspoon,
Which that is a teaspoon.
and this is a 1 teaspoon, per cup of water. So I'm just going to fill this up, the measuring cup about halfway.
Guesstimate.
And you don't have to use salt with no caking agent in it. It's the only thing the caking agent does is make it look funny. It'll like stick to the caking agent will stick to the sides and turn yellow and
I noticed that with you do the sugar and hummingbird water.
yeah.
Hummingbird water looks clear, but then all of a sudden it's cloudy up.
Yeah. And for stuff that sinks, you want to give me another?
Yes.
For stuff that sinks, I just fill up the water above it. If you have the food above the water, because it's not in the salt water and all that stuff, it can rot or get moldy. So, stuff that sinks, I just fill it up above the level of the food for fermenting it. And fermenting it lets the food last longer than just putting it in the refrigerator or something. But not as long as canning does.
So when you ferment it, you want it to sit out on
Yeah.
the countertop for the first 24 hours, and you burp the lid unless you have one of the lids that's vented.
Yeah, we got some. I don't remember where I put them. I was going to talk about those here in a second.
Yeah.
But you can talk about those when I fill
Like
this
this one, it's got a little rubber one-way seal on it. It'll let air out but not in. And then you can put it in the refrigerator because you've kick-started the growth of the lactobacillus
Yes.
bacteria.
And a lot of times, so if we're taking garlic, I'll take the old garlic that we just used and take a spoonful of that and put it in there because that bacteria is already happy and growing and it'll take over. But since this stuff sinks, all we gotta do is put the lid on, leave this set on the counter, burp it every few hours as
Okay.
the bacteria starts to grow.
Burp it.
Loosen the lid.
Loosen the
Like you do your Tupperware.
Make it burp.
Even though nobody burps Tupperware anymore.
Yeah, I got some of them burping top.
So do I. I've still got several of my Tupperware.
Alright, for big things that float, like pickles, they make these springy things. They go, I don't know if they'll fit in this jar.
No, those go in wide mouth only.
Oh, so they go in wide mouth and they're designed for quart jars. And they go in there and then they come with these lids that are one-way valves, and it'll hold your pickles underneath the brine, or pickled carrots. Big thing. This only works with big things. Little things will work their way around it. And you can use either one of the valve styles. This style comes with this. These, when you buy them, come with weights. And I recommend the weights with the little handles on them. I don't know. Little handles on them. I have the old ones before they started putting handles on them. And you want one pickle out of there? It's an adventure getting that weight out of there to get that one pickle out. But they just slide right into the wide mouth jar. And you want them near the top, because if they get too low, they can tip sideways and let some stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just a big chunk of glass. Some people, they're called pebbles because they used to use rocks to do this. And you can still use a rock wrapped in like cheesecloth.
You're talking about doing pickles. Does your pickles come out crunchy or soft?
It depends on how long you ferment them. The longer you ferment them, the softer they get because the bacteria eats them. People use grape leaves and stuff like that to get pickled stuff more crisp.
Alum will get pickles more crisp if you.
Yep. What does?
What?
Alum.
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 Mm-hmm.
There's
You
all
can
kinds of-
soak your things you're gonna pickle in alum water, like
My
make a
mom used
brine, and it will draw some of the moisture out of the.
Before you can them, you do that.
You can.
I have to show Debbie this video.
But if you're lacto-fermenting your pickles, the longer they're in, the softer they're going to get no matter what, because the bacteria is literally eating the pickle.
She cans her pickles, but they
Yes.
don't.
So she uses vinegar and quick pickling.
Yeah. She uses
But-
the pickling
Yep. Salts.
salts and all
Yeah.
that.
That's pickling. She buys like the kit for doing with the dill and all that already in it.
No, she
Or does
mixes her own
mixes her own.
spices, but she can't get them crisp.
Grape. I've had luck in the past with grape leaves.
And you can buy grape leaves at the store.
I don't know. There's wild grape leaves growing everywhere. You can't walk around without. That's
I'm
what.
sure she's probably got grapes out there.
Yeah.
Got everything else.
And grape tendrils. The grape tendrils taste like Sour Patch Kids.
Ew.
I showed some of the scouts that, and
Alum's better.
Allison was walking around with a big handful of them. She's like, "These are great." She's also throwing things at me and telling me, "Here, eat this." I'm like, "It's not ripe yet." And she's like, "Eat this." She thinks the fact that you can eat plants is the coolest thing
Things
she's
that
ever.
grow out in the yard.
That's all we have for the pickling and canning and stuff.
We'll have to do a pickling video when I make my icicle pickles.
Okay. So we've also brought some other stuff in case we had some more time. Okay, I hope that was useful and helpful for you. Sorry it's a little disjointed. This is the first time teaching a class like this, and I really wasn't planning on making it into videos like this. I just had a request to do it, so that's why I did it. So I hope you find this useful and helpful in your life, and I hope you stick around to watch part 3. It'll be out next week. And thank you for joining me on the journey to use God's gifts to grow His kingdom, prepare for the future, and live a better life.